Thank you. I'm just open the meeting. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you for being here at this extraordinary meeting, the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. It is very unusual, and so this is probably the first time I've chaired such a meeting, and we do have quite strict protocols because of that. The meeting's been called by the Chief Executive, Mary Richardson, in response to a notice of motion filed by Councillor Tyler Harrison-Hunt and co-signed by Councillor Andre Moore and Community Board Member Marie Polisco. The notice of motion is to consider revocation, that means turning back, a part of the previous decisions by this Community Board on 15th of February 2024 regarding Church Corner and Waimari Road safety improvements. A couple of matters before we begin. We will operate a timer on the screen. Is that right, Jess? Yes. The speeches which will be available. A reminder that the meeting will be live streamed and the recordings are available on the Community Board's YouTube channel. In case of an emergency, please exit via the door at the back of the room, and there are 2 staircases to exit the building. Please follow staff in the case of an emergency. Can everyone now please stand for the karakia?
One slide.
There we go. Thank you. Can I take apologies? Andre being on Zoom, it's not an apology, but he's on Zoom.
Sorry for being on Zoom though, so kind of an apology.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a procedural motion.
Can I just get to the area prior to public forum? So declarations of interest. Does anyone wish to declare an interest on this notice of motion? And then what we're planning to do is go to the public forum. We've only got a restricted amount of time as the requirement of the CEO of Council, and we've got 30 minutes and people can speak for up to 5 minutes each, and we will be fairly rigid on that. If you finish before 5 minutes, we can actually have questions, but we will finish at just after 4:30. Now, in terms of a procedural motion, can I check with the people here? Would we do the public forum and then the procedural?
No, the procedural motion, Madam Chair, is before the meeting.
Procedural motion.
Pardon?
What is the nature of the vote?
The nature of the procedural motion is to withdraw this item on the agenda. And I have a second.
20, isn't it?
I have a seconder.
I'll just have a look at proceed 20, and we'll just have a few minutes here. 20.2 procedural motions to close or adjourn a debate, and we need to take them immediately. But they seem to need to fall into one of the following categories. So which one does it fall into?
Please hold the line a moment, please, caller.
Thank you.
Just one moment.
If I could call Jane Parfitt here or Mary Richardson, just on sort of procedures.
So the procedural motion that you refer to is usually taken once something's in debate, that when you're in debate, you want to close or adjourn the meeting.
So we hear from the public, have debate, and then at some stage a person can move a procedural motion.
Then they have to identify which clause of the procedural motion they're
Yes.
wanting to
Yes.
do it on. Withdrawing the paper is usually done, it's the CE notifies that a matter's being removed from the agenda.
6.8 in the standing orders refers to removing an item from the agenda.
Yes. So if we take what our CEO is saying, we'll proceed with the speakers at least. And I think we go some way through the actual debate itself.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification around that? So it does say under that procedural motion that only a member can bring it once if they have not spoken. So that means I'm not to speak first.
Well, Tyler who speaks first, and then we'll have people in support and then people against. It's quite formal. We've all agreed to apply standing orders through informal discussions with you all. There's been an agreement to have standing orders, but this is even further than standing orders.
Can I just highlight that 6.8 says that this is to be brought up at the beginning of a meeting.
So can I
Withdrawal of an agenda item.
What circumstances are you asking? So you're asking for the CEO withdraw this?
The
paper?
withdrawal of agenda items, so if I can just read it out, it's just 3.5 lines.
It's 6.8.
6.8, if justified by circumstances, an item on the agenda for a meeting may be withdrawn by the chief executive, the chairperson, or by the majority of the members present and voting at the meeting. Where the chief executive withdraws an item, he or she should inform the chairperson and all members prior to or at the beginning of a meeting.
So can you just clarify what are the circumstances that you want to withdraw?
Certainly. The circumstances that I'm wishing to highlight is that there has been no notice of motion presented to us on the community board. There is no new information. Decisions have already been made under democratic process twice, and the absent member referred to in emails that was not privy to this information is, I believe, an unfair responsibility to put on that person who was absent to all the information and to our legal discussions. They are the reasons.
So can we just have a 5-minute break? And Mary and Jane, if you'd come up here. It's kind of a legal issue, this one, isn't it?
do that though.
That's up to
It's up stuff and then us.
So can I speak? Thank you. We've looked at 6.8 and we don't believe that it's justified by the circumstances for an item on the agenda to be withdrawn. It was put on the agenda by 3 people from the board, so that was correct. They've asked for us to have a second look at, or third look at this, and that's correct. And so I'm ruling that we won't take it off the agenda. Okay, thank you. That's 6.8. Thank you. Now, public forum, please. I've lost someone taking. Here we go. The first person to speak is Jono DeWitt. Is Jono here? Jono. Thank you. And you have 5 minutes. If you finish short of 5 minutes, we can ask questions. But if you take up the full 5 minutes, then that's the only opportunity you have. Thank you. And I think I've met you before. Thank you.
I've sent a note to the board members.
Thank you.
So they probably all know my point of view, but I'm here to expand on it, I guess.
Thank you.
All right. So I live in Upper Riccarton, not too far from Church Corner. I often bike to the shops on the north side of the Oldhurst and Riccarton Road to buy groceries. I go to shops like Growers Direct, Sunsun, Chinatown Market, Avonhead Butcher in that Church Corner mall area. I also often drive there, so I'm well aware of the difference between navigating the area on a bike versus in a car. If I'm going on my way home from work, I come up Curlitz Road, duck into Suva, and then join the South Express on Valentine Ave. From home, I take South Express from further east, and then also go up Valentine Ave. From there, I have to negotiate the intersection that we're talking about today. It's currently a very car-oriented space. There are no cycle lanes, no on-street car parking or shoulder that as a cyclist you can use in lieu of a cycle lane. To cross the road there is a gap in the concrete island which you can sneak through to get across, but you do have to wait for a gap in the traffic, which is difficult in peak times. So it's possible to cross to the north side on the way to the shops, but it's pretty cycle unfriendly. But crossing back after shopping is even worse. There's just no way to cross by bike to get back to the South Express cycleway from there. And I think it's due to the complicated road layout of the right-hand turn from Main South Road. I can use a pedestrian refuge by Riccarton Clinic, only if I ride on the footpath on Main South Road, which is illegal, and it's still difficult to get back to the cycleway on Valentine Ave. The other option I have is to go on to Riccarton Road and cross 2 lanes of busy traffic to get to the right turn lane, to turn onto Hanson's Lane, which can take me back to the South Express. I am quite confident riding a bike in traffic, but I can also identify when a road layout is designed for cars first and when a road is not designed to make walking and biking safe and accessible for all. This is the case with Church Corner today. The current road design prioritises car movements over all else. Pedestrians, cyclists, and safety in general are a distant thought. Remember, this is a street that goes through the middle of Church Corner, not around the edge. It's not a bypass. It's not a highway between towns where car movements are rightly a priority. This goes straight through the Church Corner community. In my view, it should not be designed to get as many cars through from one side to the other as quickly as possible. By closing the right turn and installing a pedestrian and cyclist crossing, we will take a good step towards bringing some balance to the street design at Church Corner. Less cars will crash into each other. Less cars will crash into pedestrians or cyclists. Drivers will still be able to get where they're going, just on a more appropriate route and possibly with a slight delay. More people will feel it is safe to walk and bike to their local shops. More parents will feel it is safe for their kids to walk or bike to school. It will make life better and safer for people like me who just want to be able to bike to the shop on their way home from work to buy some fresh veggies for dinner.
Thank you. Now, a minute for questions. Mark, anyone else? No, Mark, go ahead.
Thank you for your deputation here, Jono. Much appreciated. Always good to hear your local perspective. Are you familiar with the idea that since February, I've been asking for an alternate design that would meet all those safety requirements while still keeping it open? And you got any thoughts on that idea?
Yeah, so my understanding is that staff had looked at it and determined that it wasn't possible to have both the right turn and crossing there and still keep of the project. Maybe they can relook at it, I'm not sure, but from my point of view, get the right turn, you no longer get rid of that merge on Riccarton Road, which is also an issue for people coming down the Old Hurst wanting to turn right at Anson's, and people from turning right wanting to get into the left lane to turn left at Whanau, so that's messy. And also that bend in Riccarton Road is not going anywhere, so I think there's an inherent risk of having a right turn so close to that bend. However, if staff are able to, I guess, satisfy that they try and fit both in there and make it safe, then I guess I'll be willing to accept that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And
Can I just very
time's out.
quickly suggest that if you've heard from staff that they've considered it, that's more than I've heard, so.
I may have misinterpreted the answer to a question.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you. Then we have Luke Chandler. The same rules apply here, Luke. 5 minutes. And everybody probably knows Luke.
I'd be surprised.
The last campaign. Thank you. Go ahead. 5 minutes.
Just 1 second. Right, kia ora everyone. Over the past week, there's been a significant discussion around the Main South Yaldhurst Riccarton Road intersection. This issue has appeared before the board twice before, as we all know. And obviously there's a lot of people that want to improve safety. Everyone in this room, I think, does. First and foremost, safety is a paramount concern. And by crash statistics provided by the council at this intersection over the last 10 years, there's only been 9 injury-related crashes at this intersection. So there might be 80, 81, 85 crashes, but of those, 9 have resulted in an injury. That is a stark difference from every other intersection in the country, in the city rather. And this intersection sits at 161 of 303. We've got other intersections which are significantly worse, and council acknowledges that their modelling suggests that some traffic will divert left from Main South Road onto Curlitz Road, then right at those lights. This intersection is a disaster. It has double the crash rate of the Riccarton Yaldhurst Main South Road intersection. And what we're saying is we should be putting more people through this so we can have people like this that run through red lights. There's a truck and a car. I witnessed that in 5 minutes, that there was multiple of these, because NZTA no longer decide that they want to have the safety improvements that this community needs. So my solution, I have three solutions. We vote for the status quo. So we vote against the notice of motion and keep things the way that they are. Not great. We vote in favour of the motion with an amendment that we only close the road once we have improved safety conditions at the Pierre Yaldhurst Curlitz Road intersection. Because without this, we will see more crashes at this intersection by people taking risks. Yesterday when I was there, 2 buses got through, while there were other vehicles lined up. And as you see, it is quite a busy intersection as it is. And this is just one set of lights that didn't get through. I urge all elected members to put aside their personal differences and work cohesively together for a resolution fostering a spirit of collaboration rather than discord that we've seen in the past. I highly encourage you to opt one of the three proposals I previously mentioned. If there are any questions, I'm
Thank you.
happy to do so.
Any questions, Lou? What's the third proposal? I wrote down two. What's your third one?
So vote against the notice of motion.
Okay.
The second was vote in favour of the motion with an amendment to close the road only after safety improvements have been approved. And sorry, I don't think I read it, but direct staff to consider other proposals,
Okay.
including those by Councillor Peters, others in the submission process, like Maria, Rachel, Jeff, Dan, Diane, and Aaron, all said that they were concerned about the pair of Yoldhurst Curlitz intersection and the many submissions that actually called for traffic lights at it as well. I did go through all 600 plus submissions and read through them. So, yeah.
Any other questions, Mark?
So would I be right in suggesting that you've actually seen the alternate design that
I've seen your design that you've proposed on Facebook. Yes.
Very good.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Luke.
Awesome. Thank you
Very
very much.
much.
Well done.
Thank you, Lou.
Jack Halliday. Welcome, Jack. And you've got 5 minutes.
Kia ora everyone, thank you for having me here. So I'd like to speak on behalf of Reda Otatahi. So we're a group of residents who want to enable conversation and non-partisan advocacy in order to help create a better city. So we especially care about enabling housing choice, modal choice, access to amenities, safe streets, and a vibrant city, the last of which are most important for this meeting today. So hopefully you've all seen my very long email. I don't want to rehash it too much, but there's a lot of crashes here, and although it may not a high death rate one, a high injury one, it's one that's more causes the perception of the area that this is unsafe. My children can't walk to school here, even though there are so many schools, universities, amenities like shops, and especially Church Corner, which is a really important cultural hub for the community, like one of the most unique in Christchurch. That should have very good connections. So it is our view that the crossing needs to go in somehow. So the right turn is something that people want in, we can understand that, but we can't see a safe way of doing that. I've looked amongst design. Personally, I can't visualize it in my head well enough to see it being safe. If staff could work out a right turn and the crossing, then sure. But the crossings are the biggest thing. It's not so much the death, not so much the injuries, but it's the perception of Church Corner that this is a busy road. We're not going to let our kids around here. They've got to hop in the car. They're not going to get to school by themselves independently by bike or by foot.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack. Any questions? Well, thank you indeed for coming in. Thank you
very much.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, mate.
Tushan Azad.
Sit on the right.
Good. Thank you. You're welcome.
Hi.
5 minutes.
Hi everyone. I was born and raised in Christchurch, done a lot of cycling, mostly drive now. 41 years old, so done both, but I do travel around that area at least weekly. Yeah, so in general, I'm against cul-de-sacking, removing slip turns, removing car lanes, as what we saw like Park Terrace, and just in general inducing congestion around the place. And I'm especially against raised hump intersections. Now, obviously I'm for safety, and I'll get to my proposed solution at the end. But yeah, basically I think we should make the roading network better for everybody, and not so much of this pitting one side against the other, like cyclists and pedestrians and scooter guys against the cars and everything like that. So as it applies to this proposal, I'm against removing the slip turns suggested, which one of them, yeah, those two slip turns, and I'm also against blocking access from Main South onto Riccarton eastbound. Yeah, and it, which also has the actual effect of removing a car lane for quite a long distance after that right turn. On the flyover, it just appears like it's a brick brick thing with median thing that's really wide, and there's no car lane anymore, so it's just a useless bit of nothing. Because basically it will induce congestion, and on the website it says modelling has shown that this additional traffic can be accommodated within the existing operation of the traffic lights with minimal delay to people's journey time. But what does minimal mean? Like, does it mean 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 seconds? Does it mean, you know, and for who, at what time? And whatever that number is, like, so they've admitted it, that will basically, I mean, the cars are either going to go left or right, and then you're going to cause more traffic at left and right, that they don't just disappear. And then you've got to multiply that by the number of cars that go through there. So you're obviously going to have an economic cost. And then it's, well, how do you balance the, you know, economic cost that you cause against the whatever the lives and deaths and injuries and everything else? Because at the end of the day, that economic cost will either mean that you don't save lives from money that you would have otherwise saved in the economy, or, you know, somewhere down the track you'll someone miss out on some, you know, something for whatever, because you've stuffed up the economic side of things, right? So it's got to be kind of like a balanced thing. Can I just bring up a couple of my pictures, please? Because I often go to Japan and I see solutions such as this one, which shows an underpass. And, you know, there's this little cycle ramp in the middle there. You can wheel your cycle down. It's nicely tiled and everything lit up. You know, it's, people often say, oh, you can't build underpasses because of CPTED. I've read CPTED, and there's nothing, you know, just make it nice. Or you could build a bridge. And so if we go to the next picture as well, there's a couple of examples of bridges. I mean, that's a really basic one. You can add lifts for accessibility. That one allows you to take your cycle up there. These don't look particularly expensive to build. And I would say if you really want to go maximum on the safety, then just separate the traffic completely. Like, you're going to do it down in Bram Street at the Simeon intersection with Bram Street. So do it properly if you're going to do it. Just separate it out and do it like they do overseas. And that way you're not having kids and, you know, cyclists and everyone interacting with the traffic. The traffic doesn't get annoyed. The emergency services don't get annoyed with having to go over bumps, and, you know, you don't just induce congestion elsewhere in the road network. So yeah, in summary, basically just build a bridge or an underpass if you really want to do it right. If you don't, then please just don't keep you know, killing the road network with death by 1,000 humps. And yeah, just make it safer in a smarter way. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Any questions? Or Mark Peters one? No, you're fine.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Mora. Mike used to be chairperson of this board for a long number of years.
There used to be a lot of things, Helen.
Still is, huh?
Anyway, I'm here today because I know this intersection quite well. I know it's got problems, but I don't think the problems need to be made worse than what the report, if you take that report in its entirety, would suggest to me that we're going to have a bigger, more congested mess than ever. And I know safety is very important, but I'm sure with better signage, more clear signage and warning, even like some intersections have them, this is a dangerous intersection, be careful. Yeah. Signs like that make people sort of think, hey, I've got to be careful here. But if you're used to using it, you're fine, because, you know, it works well. And I must say that Riccarton Road has been in place for a hell of a long time. Church Corner has been there for a hell of a long time. And the link to Main South Road's been there a hell of a long time. And from my reading through the report, there's been one fatality there. And that was involved a motorcycle, for goodness sake. And that was towards Hanson's Lane, not right at this intersection Main South, the Aldhurst and Riccarton Road. So anyway, that's we don't want injuries. A lot of those accidents were nose to tail. So people might be texting on their phones and not realise that there's a car stopped in front of them. I know a guy who actually suffered from what do they call it? The sleep apnea, and he went to sleep waiting to get around that corner once. So,
It's not that slow, Mike.
that's true though. He did tell me that he went to sleep at Church Corner. But anyway, he must have been careful. But what's going to happen if you close that off and so that the traffic travelling east to west, no, west to east is Curlitz, Curlitz Road, and you turn into there, very, very narrow little street, very, very narrow little stretch, okay? So if you're wanting to make a right-hand turn into Aldhurst Road and to go into Riccarton Road, you've got to actually change lanes, for goodness sake, as well, in that very, very short area. And the volume of traffic, I just watched it today, that's coming up Curlitz Road to that intersection is massive. So then you've got the Main South Road and Main South and Curlitz Road intersection lights. Then you make a left-hand turn, trying to get to where you want to go, and then you jam there in gridlock. So that means when you jam there in gridlock, nobody can come up and down Curlitz Road. So you're going to cause a hell of a lot more congestion by closing that intersection off than you would by going with what Councillor Peters is suggesting here. And before I saw your design, I was prepared to come here and just say signage is one of the main things. If people are slow in lines of traffic, slow, they can read the signs if they're big enough and in the right place. Otherwise, why have we got signs at all? So anyway, they're not there for the blind because the blind don't usually drive cars, unfortunately. But anyway, the time will come when they will be able to because they'll have drive, so that'll be something we can look forward to.
Off track there.
I am on track. We're talking about safety here.
Yes, I know.
So anyway, and we're talking about saving the planet as well, for goodness sake. So just imagine how much fuel is going to be wasted with cars sitting there idling. I've got a habit now that I've had over the last 3 or 4 months, and that's to, when you know the intersection, you know how the traffic's flowing, you know how long you're going to have to wait, I just turn the ignition off, leave the radio on, turn the ignition off. And then as soon as you see the traffic starting to go in a different direction, you know your turn's coming up, flick, away you go, no problem at all. But a lot of people don't do that, and it's just so sad to see that amount of concentrated delay that's not necessary. And to me, all we need to do is go back to the community board's original decision and leave it as it is, or do what Mark Peters has designed and say, send that to the traffic engineer saying, this is what we want, do this, and we'll be all car pie.
I'm just coming, Mark's got one question and then we'll have to wind up.
Yep. Thank you, Mike, for coming and talking to us today. It's been mentioned about looking after the Church Corner community. Who do you think would be the most affected community from closing off this right turn? Do you think it might be your own?
Well, I'm the deputy chair of the Greater Hornby Residents Association, and I know the Greater Hornby Residents Association is in favour of the status quo. So, with safety improvements, of course. So that's another thing that I'm advocating for and on behalf of here today as well. It's not only Mike Moore coming to have a rant, it's the deputy chairman of the Greater Hornby Residents Association coming to put our view as well. So
Thank you, Mike.
it's been taken on board.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much
Appreciate
for
that.
the opportunity, because a week ago we didn't have that opportunity. So thank goodness that, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your common sense.
Last person is Logan Kane. Thank you. If you'd like to come to the top of the table. Logan has emailed us twice, I think, on this issue. So you can stand if you want to or so.
Okay, I'll stand there. Yeah, Jesus, can't say. I'm trying to get through Church Corner. No, yeah, where to start? Yeah. Signs, good idea. If only there was a sign like, I don't know, right turning traffic, make sure you indicate. No, could try that. Oh, hang on, we have, anyway, build a bridge, yeah, it'd be cheap, yeah. Or we could just, actually do what the traffic engineers are saying and just keep it on the two-dimensional plane. Yeah, we don't need to build big structures. But to be honest, like, I hear a lot of debate about, oh, should we, what about this option? What about that option? Rhetorical question, I guess. Who in here is a chartered professional transport engineer? Who's done the hard mahi at university, studied, made it their life's work? Who in here actually has access to the latest models from the City Council for traffic flows and the computational tools that go with it?
Can I answer that question?
No.
He's putting a question to us.
No,
Okay, because if you don't, I'm not saying you can't question the designs that have been put forward. Of course you can. That is absolutely fundamental to our democratic rights. However, it's my belief that you can't really just undermine what the professionals are actually trying to say. We as in you, the board, have actually gone and asked for a redesign, and you got told last time that it can't happen in the span of time that is required before you lose funding for this altogether. So keep that in mind. Anyway, it's not just all about modelling. Of course, experimentation is good too. So I actually went out and I did my own experimentation. I drove the intersection 12 times, 6 times each for the different options. And I drove it in light traffic and medium traffic. I didn't get to drive it at peak hour because, I mean, who would do that to themselves, to be honest? But no, I had other places to be. Anyway, what I found is that it was actually quite remarkable. When I averaged out the 3 results from the different situations, both times, i.e. when the intersection is working properly, the delay by going the proposed way is 27 seconds. So keep that in mind. There are other people that use this intersection. We have kids that use it to get to school. I don't need to tell you again, elderly people. There's a Kainga Ora development that's possibly going up there as well. Instead of telling you why we should care about these people's safety, let me actually tell you a bit about my personal story. Okay? On the face of it, I look like one of those crazy greenie activists. I bike around everywhere and I like try and eat like vegetables for the most part and stuff. But you know what? I didn't get there by choice, actually. I got there through common sense. When we talk about common sense, we talk about freedom. I'll tell you, okay, so what happened was I was a student. I was pretty poor. If you've been a student before, you know. And petrol was getting up to $3 a litre. And I mean, all right, like, who wants to pay that? So, yeah, so I started biking around and, it's kind of bad. Kind of sucked. And then I found out once I finished being a student and I started working full time about the cycleways and cycle lanes that we have. And once I started taking that, it was great. And then I had kids. Now I've got 2 kids. Take them on the bike too. They love it, hey? They absolutely love it, We talk about the objectives of data and stuff, but it's the subjective as well. Like when my little 2-year-old's having a tantrum, I just chuck him on the bike. But I'll tell you what, I chuck him on the bike because the fresh air, it calms them down. Problem is though, when I get to Church Corner, oh boy, I don't want to go there. So what I do is I turn off before countdown and I take the separated cycleway all the way down. I can't even remember what the road's called, but then you turn left and then you turn left again onto Hanson's Lane and you're going to come all the way back. And it takes me about 10 minutes to divert around, and it's simply because I just don't feel safe going through that intersection. So yeah, and then in terms of I know some councillors here have talked about that, this
almost over.
Yep, the proposed changes are going to scare away their residents. let's circle back to that 27-second number. Give your cohort, give your contingency some credit. Is 23 seconds really going to scare them away from Riccarton forever? And remember, when you're in a car, you actually do have a privilege. You get to sit in a nice air-conditioned box. All you have to do is that and that. It's not, it's not too cumbersome. So yeah, I say do it. Let's do it. Let's make it a safer place.
Thank you very much.
Haven't time for that questions.
Oh, there's no, because the other person got questions after the thing
Sorry?
was finished.
You-
No?
No,
Okay.
we have time. But thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Logan.
So, yes, so for this notice of motion on Church Corner and Waimari Road safety improvements, we have debated this topic on 2 separate occasions. This is a notice of motion, not a staff report, and we don't have any question and answers section. So I want to remind you that as per Standing Orders 22.4, only the mover at the time that the notice is moved and with the agreement of the majority of those present at the meeting may alter a proposed notice of motion. So Tyler has moved this.
I've got an additional.
He can alter it.
Yep, I've got one.
Once moved and seconded, no amendments may be made to the notice of motion. So do you want to move the motion as you had it, or do you want to?
I want to
alter
add to it.
Add to it, okay.
Yes. I'd like to add for 5A that staff provide alternative options within budget that retains the right-hand turn, the dual crossing, and mitigating serious instances. For 5B, I would like to approve delegation to Councillor Harrison Hunt, Councillor Peters, and Councillor Moore to review and approve any potential design changes where practicable and notify those changes to the board. And number 3, 5C, I would like to note that if staff determine the deadline isn't feasible, the staff recommendation remains.
Okay, thank you. So you're changing it, but you're going back if time is not feasible to what's proposed, the closing of the road to
Yes.
to right.
Councillor Peters has a design that
Thank you.
we could work on.
Thank you.
So we can meet in the middle on this one.
So you have you got this in writing, or will we?
I've sent it through.
We've sent it through.
I can resend it to.
Have you got it?
I think we've got it through the grapevine. Can we just maybe adjourn for 5 minutes,
Yep,
just
yes.
because this is a
A
notice of
break.
motion, which has been reviewed by the senior teacher.
Sure.
Yes,
It might be
good.
good just to
Thank you. So we've got 5 minutes break,
maybe 10 minutes.
maybe 10-minute break.
Apologies for the late.
So are you wanting me to start? Yes, thank you. Can I just bring the meeting to order? We've been away quite a long time, but we do have a solution, which is to some extent a compromise. So if we could put this on the table. Oh, wait, have I got that wrong? So Tyler is going to move the motion, and maybe I've misunderstood, and a second member needs to second the motion. So Tyler, if you...
Mark, do you want to put Tyler's motion up on screen?
Yeah.
Do that now.
It's not, he's amended the motion.
Are we still doing the original one? I've lost.
No, my amended motion will show the members what.
Thank you.
We've got, sorry, but that does need to be with the agreement of majority of the meeting, which just as a show of hands. Yep.
Okay. Are all those people are happy with to
We
have
should show it first.
an amended? Sorry, I haven't been.
Oh, sorry, I thought you
That's
were
right.
put that on screen.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes.
Read over it?
Yes.
So the altered notice of motion says one, that the board revokes the decision made at its meeting on February 15th for resolution 6 to 10 on the Church Corner and Waimairi Road Safety Improvements Report. Number two, a request staff to provide options that keep the right-hand turn, the dual crossing and mitigates serious crash incidences. And number three, we delegate to our council the decision on the original staff recommendation 6 to 10 or the alternative options that will be provided within the report.
So that's different to what you've sent us in an email.
It is a member was uncomfortable with one part, potential foreshadow.
So are you able to make it bigger on the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you put the timer on the screen? Should we ask questions?
You haven't got a
Tyler
second yet.
So Tyler's moved this.
Moved it.
So we just need the agreement of majority of the meeting, which is just a show of hands to say that they're happy to deal with this altered notice of motion.
Okay. So can I have a show of hands? Who's happy to deal with the altered notice of motion?
I'm not sure what that means, sorry.
Well,
That you'd like to
it's
consider.
on the screen.
So it's not voting for it, it's just saying that you're happy for it to be altered for this to be what you're voting on.
Okay.
So hand it back to council.
No,
No.
you're not voting on anything substantial here. You're only voting on whether
Put on the
to
table.
allow the mover to alter his notice of motion to be this instead of his original notice of motion.
Is Andre's hand up?
It is up, yeah.
And what's the implication of not?
So it's basically taking on board what Mark was in fact proposing.
If you don't vote in favour of, well, if the majority of the meeting does not agree to alter the notice of motion this way, then you have to vote on the original notice of motion.
Oh, thank you. So you have to go back to the original one, which was, sorry, we in fact rescind.
Take a show of hands.
So can I?
I think you're the numbers anyway.
I thought people would feel comfortable, but anyway, show of hands again.
There's-
Only,
Sure.
Yeah.
yes, thank you, Miriam.
Mark?
So are the board members comfortable with 1 and 2?
Is this open for debate once this
No,
goes through?
apparently Tyler speaks for 5 minutes and then other people can speak for 3 minutes.
Yeah, the whichever motion, if the meeting is happy to deal with the altered notice of motion, which I understand to be a compromise, rather than the original notice of motion, then at that stage at which it's determined which notice of motion we're dealing with, then you would enter into that procedure
Then
to enter
yes,
into
This
debate.
is a debate.
Mm.
So we do a show of hands for?
Okay, show of hands. So who is comfortable with 1 and 2 on this?
It's 1, 2, and 3.
revised amendment?
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, look, Hank who wanted them put separately.
Can I,
It seems to be, the issue seems to be going to council.
Helen, it's only Tyler. We can put in his amendment.
can I ask
Oh,
a
okay.
procedural question?
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask,
Have we got to ask the meeting? It's entirely
No.
just.
So at
Put
this
this up.
point, we're at the show of hands, whether you are going to consider
procedural question, Helen?
Well, I can't see the actual problems with this, but go ahead.
Well, the problem with it is that it theoretically hands it back to
So
council.
that's part of the debate. You can talk to that if you'd like. At this time, we're going to consider Tyler's amended notice of motion. So as the chair said, by the chair, could we get a show of hands if you'd like to debate this notice of motion?
Can I just ask one clarification? When we vote on this, can we go point by point on it? As in we can have 3 separately?
You can't make further alteration to it, so you could put it in your debate if you've got an issue, but you can't be making further
There's
alteration.
there are no more amendments to this.
No, but like
Passing the resolution.
He wants to vote per item.
on point by point vote rather than as a whole vote. That's what I'm asking.
Vote separately, is what he's saying.
I think the answer is no.
No.
It needs to be
That's a motion.
Notice of motion.
needs to be dealt with as a block, because
As a block.
anything else will be altered essentially.
Why? Because it's a notice of motion instead of an item.
So if we return to the show of hands,
Can I call on a Jim?
I think we have a show of hands. I think it's yes. So
No,
we'll proceed.
she's asked for an
No, I've
adjournment.
asked for an adjournment to ask staff if it can be moved separately.
If it helps the discussion, so there's been a majority saying you can debate 1, 2, and 3. The next question was, when it comes to voting, could you, as the chair, please put each of the recommendations separately?
And I'm happy
you can do
I'm
that.
happy to, yes. Okay,
Okay.
so
So the vote's been had. Can I call a division on that, please?
There's no vote.
There's no
No,
vote.
We just put it on the table.
no, it's Tyler's notice of motion. He's
So we've got the-
adapted it.
we've got the majority now.
Yes.
So
So
Righto. Far away.
you have up to 5 minutes.
I will get the time
Thank
ready.
you. Right, Tyler, away you go. If you want to stand, do.
Thank you, Helen. I had a,
Take your time.
apologies to my fellow members and to the public.
Take time. Can we call an adjournment, please?
We're all good. The notice of motion that is before you today is one that has been brewing for nearly 2 months. When I first started this job, I made some promises. And those promises were really important to me because my wife is the one that holds me accountable. The reason why I'm a bit emotional at the moment is because my wife's unwell. And it's been a bit of a saga. And she's usually my sounding board. So
I'd like to call Excuse me.
I'm trying to, I'm good.
That's okay.
So this item here has been one of immense contention. It's taken a lot of my time, because if people know me personally, they know that I don't go half-hearted into things, and I go all in. And when I first did this, I had a bit of tunnel vision because I thought politics were pretty straightforward when I first started. I'm a first termer. I would like to say that I know the standing orders now pretty well, and the way that I know the book, because I brought this to you today. Now, this is the part of democracy that I love. A lot of things are questionable, but they are within order. And it's something that I'm trying to strive to do, is to be a better decision maker, be a better elected member, and most of all, make my wife proud. The resolution you see before you today in 1, 2, and 3, you see me actually putting my guard down and telling the public that I'm tired. And I can't be everything to everyone. I work 60-hour weeks, and I've done that consecutively for the past 6 months at least. And I do meetings on streets. I shake a lot of hands. I use a lot of alcohol rub. But at the same time, I try my best to listen to everybody and make those decisions. And this item has clouded my judgment somewhat. And it's clouded the way that I do politics. The reason why it's clouded the way I do politics is because not only was I just fixated on safety improvements and making it feel like I can make my local community safer by doing this, I went all in. And for those that know me, localism is sort of really big in the way that I do things. So what I'm doing here in this altered notice of motion is actually meeting in the middle here. And I'm wanting to find some middle ground with our board. I don't want to find any contention anymore. I'm done fighting. I'm done fighting with my board members. I'm done fighting with it being public. I'm just done fighting. And that's why I'm going to ask to have it delegated to the council, because it won't be our fight anymore. It'll be theirs, and they'll be able to do it non-biased and through no cause of their own. Where Councillor Peters, Councillor Moore, and myself can actually advocate for the community to find a middle ground, whether it be mitigating serious crashes or eliminating those. The thing that I wanted to do was actually not lose anything. If we were to lose what happened on February 15th, we would lose the dual crossing, which is something that I really wanted to keep. Therefore, I wanted to find a middle ground where we look at alternative options that the council can vote on. So regardless, there will always be a dual crossing for our pedestrians to cross. And it's up to the council to make those decisions. So therefore, as a good decision maker and as a good governor, I'm trying my best to do this. And I hope that my members support the altered notice of motion as it stands. Kia ora.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you. Now I invite anyone, a member, to speak in support of this motion. Marie, thank you.
All right.
Paul, for 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Cool. Yes. So I support the altered notice of motion put forth by Councillor Harrison Hunt. This proposal is not merely about convenience or traffic flow. It's about prioritizing the safety of our vulnerable road users, and safety should be our top priority. And I believe that everybody around this table has that in mind, that safety of the people is our top priority. Now, Church Corner is described as an area with high amenity and cultural value, with major shopping centers, the nearby university, schools, a retirement home, and Chinatown. These are all within the catchment who frequents the area either by walking, cycling, or even riding a mobility scooter. As our Riccarton councillor Harrison Hunt pointed out in his video on social media, the safety improvements in Church Corner are only a piece of the puzzle to make Riccarton cohesive, connected, and safe. This intersection is notorious for accidents, near misses, and conflicts between motor vehicles and vulnerable road users. Now, some of you are urging us to consider the potential drawbacks of closing the right turn from Main South Road into Riccarton Road. Such a measure could lead to increased congestion to Curlitz, Yalders intersection, and longer travel times for motorists, especially during peak hours. It may also inconvenience businesses and residents in the area who rely on this route for access to essential services. While there may be short-term challenges associated with closing right turn from Main South Road into Riccarton Road, the long-term benefits far outweigh them. However, we are trying to find the middle ground here. And so that's why I support the altered notice of motion. And let us all work together towards building a cohesive, connected, and safer community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in support of Mark? Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler, for your art of compromise. I feel your passion. I think we both have the same passion for our communities. We both want our communities to be safe and connected. To me, it's a tragedy that we've got to where we have today via the path that we've taken. I really don't think it should have been this difficult to get to this today. And I really hope that we as an organisation can find a way to make this better, to work better with our communities. I asked back in February for the possibility of looking to workshop this potentially not just with ourselves as a board and as staff, but potentially workshop it with community. I'm very much about building safer communities and connected communities together with the community and taking the community on that journey and not simply thrusting upon them any form of ideologies. We in this city have to find a way for all of us to live together, to be able to respect each other, be us motorists who are driving cars, whether we're cyclists or whether we're pedestrians. We've got to find a way to live and live safely together in our environment. And both Tyler and I think you can see our hearts today. We are very much about trying to build these safe environments for everyone. One of the things that makes me really quite nervous with this altered notice of motion is seeing the final decision being taken out of the hands of the community board, who are the most connected to their community, and put up to council. So I'm not sure that I can support point 3 just yet, because who knows the community best, and it is the community board. And if it needed the community board to be reconvened on another extraordinary meeting to come to a final decision, I think that would be democracy in full action. To see the compromise to allow work on the alternate design is magic. To me, closing the right turn and pushing the traffic into a more dangerous environment up at the next intersection made no sense. So hopefully through this process today, we can come to the point where we can work together. We can work together with staff as well, so that we can get the best result for our communities, because that's what democracy is all about. And I will die in the ditch fighting for my communities. And as a city councillor, my community is not just my community, but it's the city. So I've got to have that big lens, not just localism at the local level. So
thank you, Mark. I'm just going to have, is there anybody else who wants to speak in support of the motion? Henk.
First of all, Tyler, I feel your pain, mate.
having a sick partner and then all this on top, it's hard work. Our prayers are genuinely with you. I'm a bit different to Mark in as much as that I don't look at a citywide problem. I just look at a very local problem. I only represent really a very local bunch of people. And I think taking that right-hand turn away is absolutely the wrong thing to do. I've had a look around, I've driven around both, a couple of the alternative routes we could take. And to me, it just adds to the danger of people in cars. You could perhaps argue that you could close it to cars and open it only for bikes. But we've got a ways to go before we come to that distance. So I've got no problem whatsoever, and I really do appreciate the changes in 1 and 2. But I'd like to be a part of the decision-making team that makes the final decision. And I think I owe that to the people who voted me in and the people who will vote me in next time.
Okay.
We need to do that.
Thank you, Henk. If I could just speak briefly in support of this, and particularly item 3, where it's going to council. I was really surprised when this first came that it was at a board level. It's a minor arterial road, and I'd always understood in the past that a minor arterial road, the board made a recommendation to council. It seems something has changed in those delegations, and I think the reason we're having the problems is that it is a through road to the city from Hornby to actually the city. So having spent, as we have, a lot of time on this, I think the appropriate group now to handle this once it's in a final form is council. And I think it would hold things up if we don't send it to council. So I'm particularly in support of 3. Now, these are people who have spoken in favour. Do you want to speak in favour? Is there anybody against? Deb's against. I'll go with Sarah and then Deb. Thanks, Sarah.
I wish to echo the sentiments of Mark and Henk towards you, Tyler. Really appreciate the links that you've gone to your willingness to advocate for your community is really awesome to see, and they're really lucky to have you. So thank you. I do want to touch on informed decision making and our ability to do that. On the 15th of February, we had our first board meeting to discuss these changes, and we were given the agenda and the submissions documents were provided to us with 2 business days to read through them all. One of those days was accounted for with the long-term plan at council. The agenda was 834 pages and submissions were 674 pages. There was no briefing on these submissions, and given the size of the document and the magnitude of the changes, this is something that would have been extremely helpful. But there was no time to request it. From my understanding, the decision-making process has been rushed at breakneck speed to secure the 51% Wakatahi funding. And I just want to bring this to awareness that if we are elected for our community to make informed decisions, we need to have adequate time and resources and support in order to make those decisions. And I don't believe we were given that from the get-go. And what has transpired, most of you are probably aware of what's happened in our last meetings and why we've got to this particular decision now. that could have been handled a whole lot better. And I would really hope that there's acknowledgement of that in this whole process, and that we could do work better together in future so that we can be trusted by our communities to make decisions that are the best for them and we can advocate for them. I am slightly concerned about the third option there. As Henk said, we are the ones that are living in this community, and I'm willing to stand by decisions that I make that my community, part of my community may not be happy with, some of them might be, but that's what I'm elected to do, and I have a willingness to stand by decisions and whatever impact that might have on people, and I will come and speak to you and I'll see you, and I won't shy away from that. Yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you. Thanks. Andre, are you wishing to speak in favour?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just on item 3, I mean, sadly, I don't think anyone watching the last 3 meetings has watched and had a huge amount of confidence in our board's ability to make a decision on this. And an argument was made at the first meeting that closing the no right turn would be telling Hornby people that they shouldn't get an education and go to university, but which is a bizarre argument, because if you turn right onto Riccarton Road to get to university, you'd be going the wrong way. The direct route would in fact be Pear Street. But at the last meeting, I wasn't allowed to mention the number of accidents without being cut off. And the number of accidents is a fact. So I hope I'm allowed to speak today. But the truth is, I've never been enthusiastic about removing the right turn. I was formerly an Uber driver, and I've certainly never been a fan of slower journeys. And there is no way, however, that I can do nothing about an intersection that has an accident on average every 6.4 weeks. And that's only reported accidents. There would be more than that. So despite some of the rhetoric out there, I don't wake up in the morning wanting to make vehicle journeys more difficult for others, or indeed myself. I too drive around here. The trouble is that it's vehicles who are extremely inconvenienced when they get crashed into. I've been inconvenienced by many road changes in the past, but none have come close to when I got rear-ended, had my car ridden off, and the many physio sessions required after it. And it's not just the local community, it is the wider community who are inconvenienced with regular and frequent crashes here. It's residents from Riccarton, Hornby, Yalthurst and everywhere else who are getting T-boned every few weeks, and it is our job to do something about it. That is a big lens on the situation, not a small or specifically local one. So I wouldn't enjoy taking phone calls from angry residents whose journey is a half a minute longer, but to be honest, I could live with that easier than I could live with a mother on the end of the phone whose child is in hospital from yet another accident here, and she's asking why I decided to do nothing. No answer I could give that has been presented here at any other meetings would justify that in that conversation. So the only reason I have supported closing the no right turn is because after hours and hours of questioning staff, it just doesn't appear as though we do have other realistic options that will both eliminate accidents and provide a safe crossing. But I am open to giving this a go, look and finding out whatever other options there might be. And I'm happy to support Councillor Harrison Hunt's compromise to see if we can keep the right turn safely. And I commend him for bringing this back to the table today, because doing nothing was not and will not ever be sensible or responsible decision making. We do have to do something. So I'm proud as punch of you, Tyler, and I know your wife will be proud as punch as well. So, and I think your community should be proud of you too, because you've put in the work for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Now, Debbie, you wish to speak against the motion?
First of all, I'd just like clarification around number 1. Can you please advise what the resolution 6 to 10 are that we're wanting to revoke?
It's on the, no, it's in the, on the agenda.
Yes, I'm just asking.
Yes, it's the ones which...
Yeah, what are they?
So we're not doing questions now. This is your time to speak. So we don't have questions.
But if I'm...
It's right here.
It's right hand turn.
Okay, so what we're voting on is to actually revoke a decision that our board is, first of all, Councillor Tyler, as you know, we've already expressed to you our overwhelming support of...
Oh, don't hold back, I'm good now.
No, I know, but just with everything going on So thank you for wanting to see a compromise. Number one brings concerns because what you're wanting to do is revoke a decision that our board has already made twice under a democratic process. I'll say that again. You're wanting to revoke a decision that we've all made twice under a democratic process. You're wanting to revoke that. We've already asked. We've already.
You put a notice through last week to revoke another.
Excuse me, Andre.
No, it's Debbie's turn.
We've already requested staff to provide options that keep the right-hand turn. There've been a few members that have already asked for that. Delegating to the council the decision brings a serious concern because once again, we've already made under democratic process, we voted twice in February, or in total, February and March, on this matter democratically. So we wanted to revoke our own decisions that we've been comfortable in making previously, and we want to hand it to the council when we have the delegation for it. I will repeat it again. I've got 30 seconds left. I will repeat it again. We have made these decisions already under democratic process. You're wanting, as a board, to revoke our own decisions when we've made them twice already. And you want to hand it over to council, according to this altered notice of motion, when we have the delegated authority. What are we delegating to us when we've already made the decision? What are we delegating to council when we've already made the decision? Twice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Now, Tyler, you wanting a right of reply?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No one else wants to speak? Kamal, are you fine?
I just wanted to acknowledge what our councillor Tyler went through, and they had lots of discussion with the community board, and I already made my decision that we need to close the right there. But coming to the middle road between all of us and taking the pressure from our board and giving it to the capable councillors who are representing our city to actually take this decision and actually relieve our community board from this decision.
Thank you. Now, Tyler's got a right of reply for 2 minutes. I put the motion. So.
Just a couple of things.
Thank you.
Firstly, Sinead, don't have me as a headline as like crying councillor gets board decision or something. Gosh, that's the last thing I need. But I'm back now. I've composed myself. And apologies for everyone having to witness that. But I think everyone knows how finely oriented I am. But anyway, just to talk about a couple of things. One of them was this is a fantastic democratic process that we have access to, which includes revoking this decision. Ironically, that board member Mora has a notice of motion to revoke a decision on Wigram Road in due time. So she's using her democratic process to revoke a decision on a speed platform.
Plus 4 other members.
Plus 4 other members. So we're going to call that a democratic process. Also, this democratic process is going to continue to meet in the middle and bring us back together. Just reiterating that. We're going to come back together as a board that's functional and that works well together, that's working in good faith. And when things get a little bit sticky, we continue to keep working together with each other. And if it doesn't work, like it hasn't the other 2 times, we can chuck it into council's hands and let them scrap about it. I'm not sure that they will scrap about it, though. I think there's going to be some really good options that come to the table. Staff, for clarity, actually only had options to eliminate that right-hand turn, noting that out of those 3 intersections we see, the only intersection they were able to eliminate that crash was at that right-hand turn. Therefore, that was staff's only option in their eyes and my only option, because elimination is always better than mitigation. Lastly, please be aware that my values still lie around eliminating crashes, eliminating T-bones and head-ons, but also taking into account the wide-ranging community that we've got. I was raised in the Hornby ward. I was a Templeton boy, so I do understand the hard-headedness of the Hornby ward and the way that they continue to keep fighting for their patch. So if we're doing this, yes, I am revoking the decision under the democratic process. Yes, I am asking staff to provide options that keep the right-hand turn, which mitigates serious crash instances, while also delegating to council that we look at the original staff recommendations or the mitigations. So that seems like a pretty good middle ground, team. I'm pretty sure we can meet in the middle on this and continue to strive for our communities and move on to the next issue that's going to come across. Hopefully it's not the Dressmark crossing or countdown footpath. Kia ora.
Thank you. Kia ora, Tyler. Now, this is the end of the debate.
Helen, can we
Can I put the motion in parts? Yes, okay.
Helen, we do.
Have you got a question?
Well, we can have further debate.
No, it's very formalised.
Okay.
And it's, yes. So the chairperson must now put the motion. Now I will put it in sections. So section 1 revokes the decision made at its meeting on 15th February 2024 for resolution 6 to 10 on the Church Corner and Waimari Road Safety Improvements Report.
Sorry, can I clarify who our seconder is? Are we going to go through and Tyler's be moving? Thank you.
I'll second. Okay.
Andre's hand is up. Oh.
Okay, so we've got item 1. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
No.
No.
Three.
Okay, so
Division on that, please.
Division on
the
that.
division, Marie?
Yes.
He?
No.
No. Tyler?
Yes.
Yes. Sarah?
She might pass. She might want to vote last.
Come back to her.
We can pass if you like. And
my vote is no.
No.
Yes.
No. No. Helen, yes. Sarah?
Andre?
Oh, Andre, sorry.
Yes.
A hesitant yes. Sorry. The joke, sorry. Right. Sarah?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes, no.
abstain.
No. All abstain.
Continue with this.
Sorry,
Continue.
okay. So what's the numbers?
We need to finish this round.
Okay. So the next
We've
one
got to
is,
continue this round, Sarah.
so am I passing?
Probably.
Or not?
No, we've got to make her vote to continue this round.
What was your vote?
If you vote, either way.
Can I ask some clarification?
No staff advising.
Abstention.
We got 5
No, you can't suggest what she wants to do.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what it is. You've got 1, 2, 3.
Andre, come on.
Okay, so we'll go through. Okay, no.
No. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.
5, 4.
4 against.
Thank you. Thank you. The next one, 2, request staff to provide options that keep the right-hand turn, dual crossing and mitigate serious crash incidents. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Good, thank you. And the third one is more contentious, delegates to council the decision on the original staff recommendations 6 to 10 for alternative options. So that's the delegation to council on the staff recommendations, both original and new recommendations. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
No.
No. I'll call a division.
Yes.
Yes.
Helen, Did you just say no?
I'm coming round.
Oh.
Yes. Inc? No.
Yes.
Tyler?
Can I pass?
Pass? You abstain as well?
No, no, no.
No,
Come back to me.
No.
Thank you.
She
Yes.
can vote if she
Yes.
wants to.
Mark?
No.
And I'm yes.
Andre.
Andre?
Yes.
Okay. And
No.
Sarah, no. So that's 1, 5,
5,
4.
4 against.
Good. Thank you. And so now I've got the closing karakia. Is there any comment that anyone at the table wants to make?
About
Otherwise, what about?
No,
About this?
karakia,
No,
karakia.
we're finished. It's the karakia, and then we close the meeting. Thank you for the senior staff. Thank you.
Mama te ngākau, te tinana, te wairua, i te arotakata, koe ara e rongo, whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, tungie, huie.
Thank you. So we turn off.